say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, while the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the National Constitution Center, Joseph Torsella.
We, the people of the United States, not us and them, but we, and not we, the royal, the rich, the powerful, but we, the people. In those three remarkable words is the essential American idea that government belongs only to the governed and to all the governed. And that idea changed the world. Even when our nation has broken faith with those words, and we have, the words themselves have always called us back, inspiring millions to struggle and sacrifice so that we might all be counted among we the people. And after 213 years, it is high time, past time, to build a home for those words so that the ideas behind them will always have a home in our hearts. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, to build the National Constitution Center, and on this glorious day, we begin. Mr. President, distinguished guests, fellow citizens, citizens-to-be, in the spirit of the document itself, today is your day, and it is my extraordinary privilege to welcome you to it and to thank you for making it come. This day belongs to you, visionary leaders from City Hall to Harrisburg to Washington, who fought first for the idea of this place and then for the resources to build it. This day belongs to you, trustees and staff and friends of the Constitution Center, past and present, who nurtured a good idea even in hard times. This day belongs to you, benefactors who have given so generously and so quietly to build not just a building but an institution. We are more grateful to each and every one of you than we could ever say. This day belongs to you, the all-star team designing and building this gift to the nation, stone by beautiful stone. And this day belongs to you, citizens-to-be, who remind us what the document asks of all of us, an affirmative commitment to democratic citizenship. This day, this National Constitution Center, this Constitution, they all belong to you, to all of you who make up this glorious American we. Ladies and gentlemen, James Madison may be the father of the Constitution, but Pennsylvania's senior senator should be known as the legislative father of the National Constitution Center. He was the principal author and champion of the legislation creating the Constitution Center in 1988, and he viewed that victory not as an end, but as a beginning. A decade later, he took up the cause of the federal capital funding for the center, funding that was the absolute cornerstone of this entire effort, with the same enthusiasm and skill and ultimately success. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the distinguished United States Senator from Pennsylvania, Arlen Specter.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President Joe Torselli, for those very generous remarks, and welcome to Philadelphia, Mr. President. When President Clinton walked in, he had a Hillary button on. He's working, he took it off, he said this was a non-political event. I hadn't known there were any non-political events. But he's working very hard for the election of Mrs. Clinton. He is very anxious to join the Senate Spouses Club, along with Joan Specter and Karen Santorum and many other women and men. This is a great day. The Founding Fathers brought forth a Constitution which is extraordinary in setting the governing standards for our country, with the Congress in Article 1 and the Executive in Article 2 and the Judiciary in Article 3, and perhaps most importantly, the Bill of Rights. And we have seen in sharp focus the application of those principles established more than 200 years ago in the celebrated, highly publicized case of Dr. Wen-Ho Lee. I compliment you, Mr. President, this week in laying it on the line and saying it's hard to understand how a man can be a major threat to national security one day and walk out free the next. And the remarkable application of the Constitution works with the judge who, in unprecedented manner, virtually unprecedented, apologized. And now the issue comes to the Congress for oversight in accordance with constitutional principles and checks and balances and limitation of power. And we will be looking at two very important questions, very different questions. One question is, what was the quality of the evidence? There is no doubt Dr. Lee downloaded important national security information. And what was he going to do with it? And why did the Department of Justice turn down the FBI's request for a warrant under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act at a critical time? And the other side of the coin, the second question is, why was Dr. Lee treated in leg shackles and in hand shackles and in shackles tied to his waist in solitary confinement with a federal agent watching him at all times? That's done when somebody is a danger. And some have suggested that the inference was that it was to put pressure, perhaps you might even call it torture, to compel a guilty plea. Well, that's not America. And the colonists fought King George, and the Founding Fathers, a block and a half away, established the Constitution to see to it that an independent judiciary would say no, and that the executive branch itself, as the President has done, would raise a question, and as the Congress would step in to have oversight to make sure that national security is protected, but so are civil rights and constitutional rights. The Constitution has guided us for more than 200 years, and this center, and I thank all of those of you who have contributed, and in advance I thank those of you who will contribute, and I compliment President Joan Torselli and Development Coordinator Joan Specter for their extraordinary efforts. But this will be a beacon of education which will maintain the information and the stature and the prominence of the Constitution to govern America for many hundreds of years into the future. Thank you all.
Thank you, Senator Specter. Rick Santorum, of course, was not in the Senate when the legislation creating the Constitution Center was passed, but you wouldn't know that from his commitment to our cause. He, too, was an architect of that plan for the first and vital federal capital funding. And for 3 years, year in and year out, he's led the Constitution Center's fight in the Senate with passion and absolute determination, persuading his colleagues that this isn't a Pennsylvania project, but an American project. There were moments along the way when our own confidence faltered, but Senator Santorum's never, ever did. And because of that, we're here today. We're honored to welcome United States Senator Rick Santorum.
Thank you very much, Joe, for those kind words, Mr. President. I also welcome you to Philadelphia, and I welcome you to this National Constitution Center, not Philadelphia Constitution Center, but National Constitution Center, a center that will not just be a tourist attraction to Philadelphia, which is obviously one of the things that when Mayor Rendell came to me was very concerned about, and what a great salesman your mayor was, and but I don't have to tell you that. But he came to me and he talked to me about how, and I always tell this story, but it's true, it's how Baltimore, Maryland, has more tourists come to Baltimore than Philadelphia has come to Philadelphia. And my first question was, what does Baltimore have? I mean, yet what Baltimore had was a magnet, a drawing card to today's tourists, and had something that was interactive, something that was real, hands-on. And while we have great buildings here and great history here, we didn't have an interpretive center that brought that to life. And that's what this facility does. It has an interpretive center that brings the visitor experience to life, but also projects that life, will project that life of the Constitution to the four corners of this country through its educational programs and all of the other interactive things that you will hear about over the next few years about what this center will mean to the education of our children in our schools with respect to our Constitution. It is, in fact, a national center. And it's one that I have to tell you has been an honor to work with on a bipartisan basis here in the city of Philadelphia. It has been great to work with, and I have to give credit not only to my colleague, Senator Specter, who in his appropriation bill every year provided critical funding for this proposal, this idea, but for Senator Slade Gorton from the state of Washington. And so when I do talk about the four corners of the United States, that's one of those corners. And he came here to Philadelphia, and we had a hearing just down the street. And frankly, the hearing could have gone a little better than it did go. But we didn't lose faith. We didn't lose faith. We stuck with it, and we continue to work with Senator Gorton, who's the chairman of the Interior Appropriations Committee. And eventually, he provided the funding necessary for this program to be launched. And with the $60 million that Senator Specter and Senator Gorton provided in their appropriation bills, now over a 3-year period, and President Clinton signed, we provided the foundation that this center needed to move forward. It has been a great experience for me. It's a great tribute to the great work of everyone here in the city of Philadelphia involved to make this happen, and it's a great celebration today as a result. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Senator. The NCC has been blessed with an exceptional board led by exceptional chairmen. The dedication and unstinting generosity of our Chairman Emeritus, Ted Wolf, sustained the Constitution Center when it needed it most. Our current chairman, John Bogle, has brought to this project the same wisdom, integrity, and sense of purpose that have made him such a towering figure in American business, and it's an honor to work alongside him. And our immediate past chairman is the incomparable Ed Rendell, and no one deserves this day more than he does. He took the unusual step of agreeing to lead a nonprofit board when he was serving as mayor, and that's exactly what he did. He led. And of course, he persuaded, cajoled, pleaded, and in some cases begged. But it all worked. His involvement marked a turning point in the life of this project, and this institution will always bear the stamp of Ed Rendell's leadership, even to the words, "We the people," that you'll see on the front wall of the National Constitution Center, Ed Rendell's very own contribution to American architecture. Please welcome a great Philadelphian, a great friend of the Constitution Center, and a great friend of mine, Ed Rendell.
Do I introduce Sean? Do I introduce Sean? Do I introduce Sean Street?
Yes.
Thank you, Joe. You know, Joe, is Harry Cobb out there? Harry, those words, "we the people," could be a little bit bigger, I think. To ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare. These words are the mission statement of the American government. 213 years later, they still define and guide its fundamental operations. These goals and the Constitution have stood the test of time. The enduring success of this document is because its guiding principle is that we are a government of laws and not men. The magic of this document comes from the fact that an ordinary citizen, under its mandates, has the same rights as the most powerful corporation, that one single person can fight the government itself and prevail, and that its guarantees of equal protection and due process apply to each and every one of us. 4 years ago, when I took over as chairman of the National Constitution Center, our mission was very clear to me. We had to go out and persuade funders that there was a need for interactive, living museum that would tell the story of this great document to the American people and explain how it affects their daily lives. Towards that end, we commissioned 2 polls, one of adults and one of children, and we found startling results. We found that 1/2 of the adults questioned could not name the number of United States senators that we have. We found that 1/3 of the adults questioned could not name the 3 branches of the federal government. We found that 1/4 of the adults questioned could not name one freedom guaranteed by the First Amendment. Our poll of teenagers was even more startling. While only 2% of teenagers could name the Chief Justice of the United States, 95% of teenagers could tell you that Philadelphia's own Will Smith was the Prince of Bel-Air. That only 21% of teenagers knew that there were 100 United States senators, but 83% of teenagers knew that there were 3 Hanson brothers in the musical group. And that only 25% of American teenagers could tell you what the Fifth Amendment protected, but almost 70% of American teenagers could tell you what the club protects. Armed with all of this startling knowledge, we went out and started our mission. And today, we can all say with great pride and satisfaction, mission accomplished. There is nothing that I have done in my 8 years as mayor that has given me greater satisfaction than standing here today. And there are a lot of people to thank for that. First and foremost, Joe Torsella, our great president. No one could have driven this process the way that Joe has. Secondly, Senators Specter and Santorum. When I came to them and asked for help, they responded in an unbelievable way, and their dogged determination and skillful leadership led to us receiving over $60 million in funding from the Congress and the administration. I want to also thank our own congressional delegation here in Philadelphia that helped achieve that as well. Thirdly, Governor Ridge. Governor Ridge, who has helped Mayor Street and myself on many occasions achieve great things for the city of Philadelphia, recently gave us a grant of over $22 million. And we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have accomplished our goal without that grant. And the Delaware River Port Authority, under the great leadership of Manny Stamatakis and Governor Ridge, also provided us with significant funding. And lastly, I'd like to thank our private funders. And they're great people and great corporations and great institutions, too numerous to name. And we do have to add additional names to our list because our efforts for private fundraising will continue so that we can raise an endowment sufficient to make the operation of this building flawless. But today, I do want to announce one special gift. I am happy to tell you that the Annenberg Foundation has decided to give the National Constitution Center $10 million to help us reach our goal. This extraordinary gift from Walter and Lee Annenberg complements their previous gift of $10 million to help build a shining new home for the Liberty Bell Pavilion just 2 blocks south of us. The board of the National Constitution Center, in honor of this wonderful gift, has authorized me to announce that the education wing of the center will be forever known as the Annenberg Center for Outreach and Education. Now, this gift from Walter and Lee Annenberg will not surprise Philadelphians. We, most of all, have known about their incredible generosity to this city and its causes and projects. And it surely won't surprise President Clinton, because he stood with the Annenbergs and announced their gift of over $500 million to advance the cause of public education. Lee Annenberg is with us today, and Lee, I'd like you to stand up. And Lee, we thank you and Walter for this tremendous gift and for everything you've done, for Philadelphia and for the United States of America. Now I'd like to introduce someone who's been my partner on this project and in everything we succeeded in doing during my 8 years as mayor. Someone who is going to build on this project and under his leadership take Philadelphia to even greater heights. Our fine mayor, the Honorable John F. Street.
And secure the blessings of liberty. We are all privileged to live in the greatest country in all the world. But sadly, so many of us take it for granted. So many of us misunderstand what these liberties require. We misunderstand the responsibility that we have in a free society, and we sometimes misunderstand the privileges associated with a free society. In the past 30 days, I suspect, we have had in our country 2 great institutions have conventions. The Republican National Convention, which met right here in our great city, and the Democratic National Convention that met in another great American city. And as we pondered these conventions and what they were all about, and the great liberties that are provided us, it became patently clear that there could be a generation of people who really do not understand it. And so as we today break ground on what will be perhaps the greatest national monument to our government, to our way of life, it is entirely appropriate that we understand that after these years, it is so easy to forget and to misunderstand. And we look forward to this great addition to our city, because it will provide an opportunity for the tens of millions of visitors who come here, and for the public school children throughout the entire city and throughout the region to see a living example of what our government and what our Constitution is all about and how it works and why it's so important to us. So on behalf of the 1.7 million people who live in this city, we want to thank all of you who have had a major share of the responsibility and the work and the vision of making this wonderful monument happen. And we pledge to you that as a city, we will honor and cherish what we are doing here today, and make sure that we execute our responsibility as a city to see to it that we treat it with the reverence and the respect that it deserves, and that it truly becomes a focal point of activity in and around our great city. So this is a great day for all of us, and as a matter of fact, even the weather is cooperating. Even the weather, right? What a wonderful, sunny, beautiful day for such a great event. God bless you.
entreaties of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside. Oh, let freedom ring. Oh, yeah, let freedom ring. Gonna let freedom ring. Let it 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 ring. From every mountain high, I'm gonna let freedom ring. From Philadelphia to Washington, yeah. Gonna let freedom ring. Gonna let freedom ring. Let it ring. Let freedom ring. Hey, gotta let it ring. Let freedom ring from shore to shore. I've got to let freedom ring from every mountain high to every valley low. Let freedom ring. Gotta let it ring. For you, for me, let freedom ring. Let freedom ring.
Pennsylvania, the Honorable James Giles, and the Chief Judge, United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, the Honorable Edward Becker.
I declare open for the business of considering applications for new citizens the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. I understand that there are applications from 23 of persons from 23 countries: Belarus, Cambodia, Germany, Guatemala, Guyana, Hong Kong, India, Iran, Jamaica, Cambodia, Korea, Laos, Macau, Malaysia, Nigeria, Peru, the People's Republic of China, Russia, Taiwan, Thailand, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, and Vietnam. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, on this day, the 17th of September, the year 2000, I have the great pleasure to present to you 72 applicants from 23 countries for naturalization. All applicants have been examined under oath by an officer of the United States Immigration and Naturalization Service, and all have been found to be fully qualified for citizenship in all respects. Today, all applicants continue to be so qualified. It is therefore respectfully asked that the oath of allegiance be administered to all applicants present and that all requested name change petitions be granted.
The motion is granted. Judge Becker.
Will all the new citizens please rise and raise their right hands? Do you hereby declare on oath or affirmation that you absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of whom or which you have heretofore been a subject or citizen? That you will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic? That you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same? That you will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law? That you will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law? that you will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by law, and that you take this obligation freely without any reservation or purpose of evasion, so help you God. You are now citizens of the United States of America. I congratulate you and welcome you to the company of American citizenship, the greatest privilege in all the world. It is our practice, when the oath of office has been administered, that the new citizens recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. The 72 of you who join our ranks from the four corners of the globe will have the honor of being led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the President of the United States. Mr. President, will you lead us?
Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Please place the flag. Put your right hand over your heart and repeat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the chairman of the National Constitution Center, Mr. John Bogle.
What a beautiful afternoon. Magnificent. Just right way to start. In the words of the preamble to the Constitution, for ourselves and our posterity, because the more perfect union established by our Constitution was intended to establish justice, to promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty, not merely to the founders and their fellow citizens, but to ourselves and to our posterity. It was a noble promise. It's simply not possible for those of us who represent this generation of citizens in this blessed land to look at the United States of America today without the knowledge certain that the promise made by our founding fathers 213 years ago has stood the test of time. Thanks to their wisdom and foresight, our nation leads the world, not only in things easily quantified, wealth, strength, commerce, agriculture, technology, and innovation, but in blessings not so easily measured, but far greater: liberty, democracy, freedom, and generosity of spirit. It is we, the people, who, working together over 2 centuries, have been responsible for the rise of our nation to world preeminence. But turning noble intentions into concrete actions requires strong leadership. Our Constitution was wise and clear on that point. Article 2, Section 1, the executive power shall be vested in a president. And during our nation's proud history, we've been well served by an extraordinary succession of able, dedicated presidents who have steadily led this nation to new heights. It's particularly fitting and marvelous that the current occupant of the nation's highest office will be with us today, to lend us his authority as our chief executive at this memorable groundbreaking for the National Constitution Center. Under the extraordinary leadership of our president, America's general welfare and our blessings of liberty and freedom have surged to levels without historic precedent. Our president honors us not only by his presence, but by his long-standing support of our mission and our mandate, and the vision of his administration's National Park Service under the leadership of Marie Rust and Martha Akins. Without that support from our President and his administration, I can assure you we would not be here today to honor through this National Constitution Center our generation's obligation to fortify and preserve the blessings sought by our founders for future generations, ourselves and our posterity. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present to you the 42nd President of the United States of America, William Jefferson Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. The final sentence of the preamble. We do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. Today we come to ordain and establish this Constitution Center. So I begin by thanking Senator Spectrum, Senator Santorum, Representatives Brady, Borski, and Heffel, who are here, Mayor Street and Mayor Rendell, Chairman Bogle, President Torsella, Judge Giles, Judge Becker, Park Service Director Marie Rust, and all of your employees, President Roden and Lee Annenberg, we thank you and Walter so much for your continuing generosity and vision. And most of all, I'd like to thank the people of Philadelphia who have contributed so much to make this center a reality. This is an appropriate thing to do, I think, in the millennial year and in the political season. I thank Senator Specter for the plug for First Lady, and I hope he will not be too severely rebuked at the Republican caucus in a few days. But if it is the season of political Olympics in America, we shouldn't forget that we have over 600 of our athletes halfway across the world in Australia. And I think we ought to give a big hand to the female 400-meter freestyle relay team who set a world record in winning a gold record medal yesterday. I might say, just as an aside, I saw a television special which said that this is the oldest women's swimming team we have ever fielded, and the first time the women's team's ever been older than the men. But I don't think they meant that in the same way I do. I think their average is about 21 years and 6 months. I bring you greetings also from the First Lady, who wanted to be here today because of her efforts to save the charters of our freedoms. As you may have read, and I hope you have, this weekend at the National Archives in Washington, scientists and engineers unveil new state-of-the-art technology to display and better preserve the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and Declaration of Independence. We have been struggling now for many, many years to show it to the largest possible number of visitors without having the precious old paper erode and the ink bleed away into the mists of memory. This effort to preserve the documents is part of America's Millennium Project to save our treasures, from Thomas Edison's invention factory to Harriet Tubman's home, from the Old Glory that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner, to Abraham Lincoln's summer residence at the Old Soldiers' Home in Washington. It is the largest historic preservation effort in our history. It has garnered already over $100 million in public and private funds, and I'm very proud of the First Lady for thinking of it and executing it. It will complement this Constitution Center for you to know that the Constitution is alive and well and preserved for all times, along with the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. Now, 213 years ago today, a few hundred feet from where we stand, 39 men signed a document that would change the world. Some of them, Washington, Franklin, Madison, are remembered today as our greatest citizens. In light of the naturalization ceremony just held, I think it's worth noting that 8 of those 39 signers were immigrants, including Alexander Hamilton, born in the West Indies, and James Wilson of Pennsylvania, who spoke with a heavy Scottish brogue. Those who put their names in the Constitution understood the enormity of what they were attempting to do: to create a representative democracy with a central government strong enough to unify a vast, diverse, then and now politically fractious nation, but a government limited enough to allow individual liberty and enterprise to flourish. Well, 213 years later, we can say with thanks, they succeeded, not only in keeping liberty alive, but in providing a strong yet flexible framework within which America could keep moving forward generation after generation toward making real the pure ideals embodied in their words. How have we moved forward? Well, today our liberties extend not just to white males with property, but to all Americans, including those who were just signed in. Our concept of freedom no longer includes the so-called freedom to keep slaves and buy and sell them, or to extract profit from the labor of children. And now our Constitution is the inspiration behind scores of other democratic governments all over the world, from Japan to Poland, from Guatemala to South Africa. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said, "The Constitution is an experiment, as all life is an experiment." The new center we begin today will tell the story of that experiment, showing how each generation of Americans has been called on not only to preserve liberty, but to enhance it, not only to protect the institutions that secure liberty, but to renew and modify them to the demands of the present with an eye to the future. Our generation has also begun to meet that sacred duty, for at the dawn of a new century, we are clearly a nation in renewal. Like generations before us, we are renewing the promise of America by meeting the challenges of our time with new ideas rooted in old values: faith and freedom, opportunity and responsibility, family and community. This new center is a symbol of that broader renewal. It will use the latest technologies to bring alive to visitors the meaning of our founding documents. Perhaps the greatest testament to our national renewal is we are becoming, as a people, simultaneously more diverse, as you can see from those who just became American citizens, and more tolerant. The degree of diversity in America today would probably astound the founders. But if they thought about it just for a moment, they would recognize it as the inevitable product of their own handiwork. James Madison himself predicted an America would be made stable by a strong Constitution that would draw from other countries, and I quote, "men who love liberty and wish to partake of its blessings." Even in the beginning, we were a diverse country compared to most. A few years ago, I went to Germany on a state visit, and I presented to the Chancellor of Germany a copy of the Declaration of Independence, printed in Philadelphia on July the 5th, 1776, in German, for the German speakers who were already here. A newspaper way back then wrote, "If the new federal government be adopted, thousands would embark immediately to America. Germany and Ireland would send colonies of cultivators of the earth, while England and Scotland would fill our towns and cities with industrious mechanics and manufacturers. Well, today we benefit from the skills and drive of a new wave of immigrants from Nigeria and India, Poland and China, Mexico and Russia, and as you heard, scores of other countries. No country in the world has been able so to absorb large numbers of immigrants and profit by them, yet still somehow find a way to remain one nation. I believe the reason is that we base national identity in America not on common blood or common history or loyalty to a particular ruler, but on a shared belief in a set of political ideas and arrangements. We revere the Constitution because it is at the core of who we are. And I would submit, for all the troubling responses in the polls that were cited, one of the reasons that we need this Constitution Center is so people will come here and learn the answers to those questions, so they will know why they already feel the way they do, because even people who don't know the answers to the questions at bottom are Americans in the sense that I just mentioned, thanks to 213 years of this Constitution. Since 1993, 5 million immigrants have chosen to become Americans, more than the total of the previous 3 decades. This week, 25,000 more are being sworn in ceremonies across our country, celebrating Constitution Week and Citizenship Day. They gain new rights and freely accept new obligations to play their part in the ongoing experiment in self-government that is our nation. I say it again, the final clause of the Constitution's preamble reads, "We do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States." The founders ordained it when they signed it. The American people have renewed it again and again. In 1789, when we added the Bill of Rights. In the 1860s, when hundreds of thousands gave their lives to ensure that a union founded in liberty on the proposition that all are created equal would not perish from the earth in slavery. We renewed it at the coming of the industrial age, recognizing new measures were required to protect and advance equal opportunity and freedom. We renewed it in 1920 when we ratified the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. We renewed it during the Great Worldwide Depression of the 1930s when we saved a free economy for free people by building a social safety net and appropriate regulatory protections. We renewed it in the Constitution's finest sense during World War II and the Cold War when we stood up to tyrannies that did not believe people could be trusted with freedom. We renewed it in 1963, hearing and heeding Dr. King's dream that one day the sons of former slaves and former slave owners would sit down together at the table of brotherhood. Today we enter a new era in human affairs, dominated by globalization, which is a fancy way of saying the world is getting smaller and more interconnected, and an explosion in science and information technology, which will change the way we live and work and relate to each other in ways we can only dimly imagine at a pace that is truly breathtaking. We therefore must renew our commitment to the charters of freedom and apply their values to the challenges of this new era. Our Constitution protects individual integrity and privacy. What does it mean when all of our genetic information is on a little card and in someone's computer? How can we take this magnificent prosperity that the global economy is producing and spread it to everybody? What are our responsibilities to deal with our brothers and sisters half a world away who are still struggling in poverty and under the grip of AIDS, TB, and malaria, which together kill 1 in every 4 people who die every year? What is our responsibility to share our learning in outer space and the deepest oceans with all Americans and with those beyond our borders? How can we be a great nation of free people unless every single child can get a world-class education? These are only some of the questions the next generation of American leaders will have to contemplate and answer at more and more rapid speed. But the great thing is, we now have over 2 centuries of experience to know that we always will need new ideas, we'll always need strong leadership, we'll always need to be open for change, but the Constitution, the Declaration, and the Bill of Rights will always be home base and a good place to return to know what should be the anchor of the changes and the challenges of any new era. That is what this center will give to all Americans. Finally, let me say, if you read the Declaration of Independence and its commitment to build a more perfect union, it is easier to understand why the Constitution was constructed as it was. For the founders, though in many ways ordinary people, were inordinately wise in the ways of social change and the frailties of human nature. And they knew that the Union would never be perfect, but could always be made more perfect. They knew that we would never fully realize the ideals of the Constitution and the Declaration or the Bill of Rights, but that we could always deepen the meaning of freedom, widen the circle of opportunity, and strengthen the bonds of our community. That is what these young immigrants represent today, our future, and our steadfast belief that we go stronger with our diversity in a global world as long as we reaffirm our common humanity and our common fidelity to the freedom and values of the Constitution. Now, my fellow Americans, in about 4 months from now, I will change jobs, and I will be restored to a title that Harry Truman once said was the most important title any American could have, that of citizen. No American citizen in this republic's history has been more fortunate or more blessed. I hope for the rest of my life I can do a good job with that title. I hope all these young new citizens behind me will realize that President Truman was right. As important as our presidents are, as important as our Congresses are, as important as our judges are, and our governors and our mayors, our philanthropists, our artists, our athletes, this country is great because there are good people who get up every day and do their very best to live their dreams and make the most of their own lives. And because this country has a system enshrined in the Constitution that gives them the maximum opportunity to do just that. You should be very proud of what you are doing here today to make sure everyone knows why America is a special place and being an American is a great gift. I thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, we're just about done. You might want to keep standing so you can see what we're going to do. But I'm going to ask one of our new citizens, Susan Ya, who was born in South Korea, to join me in signing, as everyone else has already done, this steel beam to my right that will be the founding pillar of a building devoted to our Constitution. I think it's quite fitting that the beam should have the signature of a president, and even more fitting that it should have the signature of a new citizen on her first day as an American.
spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties